9 different warrants you look at. And it's not a matter of, okay, if we've got 5, that means you do it. There's a little bit of judgment involved. And but we've witnessed that especially the delays on 183rd Street trying to turn on have become lengthy. And that's really kind of driven us to the point like I think we're ready to do it. Surprisingly, the accident rate isn't unusual for that location. That was not a warrant that was met. But,
well, yeah, I believe the information that you shared with me, and I'm sure you'd be glad to make it available to the other council members. After the speed was increased, it was actually, accidents went down, but then had a bump up in the following year. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was very strange. I think 09 was when the speed was increased, and in 10, 11 we had 1 accident each year. In 12 we had 13 accidents. Now, I didn't look at them deep enough to really decide, okay, was the cause of it speed? I mean, there could be many variables that caused the accident, but it was odd that just 1 year out of there had a large spike in accidents.
I have seen from personal experience some issues with regard to turning left into the Casey's, going south on Center down towards Gardner Road, past 183rd Street. I'm seeing a lot of conflict, head-on traffic conflicts between people trying to turn left onto West 183rd and people trying to turn left going southbound into the Casey's parking lot, and that's a potential serious source of accidents there. That's an anecdotal observation from me living right nearby there.
But going back to the 11 versus 13 numbers, that's not probably statistically significant. I mean, I don't think what's that?
I'm not a statistician.
Well,
it's kind of strange.
But
you could take an average. I suppose it just seems odd that you would have 1 and 13 all of a sudden in 1 year, and maybe that coincided with Casey's. Maybe that was a factor.
The construction itself and other pieces of it.
But we've only seen one accident so far this year.
Hope that continues.
Yeah.
Tim, just one last question. So for 2014 project, when do we find out if this is approved, and then when do we start?
It should be, the county has asked us all the communities to submit these by July, I think it's 13th. So that once they get all the resolutions from each community, they'll start looking at them, and it should be another month or 2 after that. Once we find out, we'll immediately start into the design of the project. Get that done this year and then build it next year.
I know we've had some other issues, I know at least I have, and I would imagine maybe some of the other council members have been brought to their attention about some other crosswalks. I mentioned it to you in an email as one of those items. These are things that will probably be able to be addressed if the CARS project goes through.
Yes, as I mentioned, right now our plan is to close the Veterans Park crosswalk when the 183rd Street project is built and move all the pedestrian traffic down to the signalized intersection. Mid-block intersections are not, at least in my opinion, are not overly safe. They're not the best solution.
So we also have to look at the possibility of rehabilitating the concrete sidewalk that's on the west side of Center between 183rd and Veterans Park then, because it's a little shaky.
We certainly could.
There's a lot of low-lying areas, and when there's a rainstorm, it completely floods.
Well, when we get to the updates at the end, you might want to bring that back up.
Yep.
Expound upon it.
Well, certainly, if any of that is not ADA compliant because of settlement for a reason, we would have to replace it as part of, if it's attached to the project, if it's adjacent to it.
what does the signal do to the speed limits? I mean, does it impact?
No, not necessarily.
So the 45 mile speed limit north of 183rd starts about where? I can't remember.
Right after.
Right by Veterans.
No, I mean on
Goes
the north
to,
side.
Goes to Pawnee and William.
Yeah. Yeah. So north of the park.
And the fact that that's such a small stretch doesn't do anything to reduce the amount of speed limit there.
Well, unless there's no overriding factor to The speed studies that were done in the past indicated the 85th percentile was a little over 45 in both directions. So 45 would be appropriate, and there haven't been accidents to indicate a problem either. Generally, when we do the 85th percentile, we want to be within 5 miles per hour of that number. So, I mean, certainly lowering it could be considered, but having the signal, just by putting the signal in by itself wouldn't require, okay, we need to lower the speed limit.
And the 85 percentile, that is a matter of standard, not
Yes.
not a policy-making guideline.
It's not a Tim McEldowney standard, no, that's
Yeah.
the engineering.
So we can, yeah, okay. Very good. Does anybody else have any other questions? Tim, thanks a lot.
Mhm.
At this time, if there's anybody from the public has comments about new business item number 2, we would be glad to have you step forward and be heard. Okay, that being the case, Doreen, do we have a resolution number?
1893, Mayor.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt resolution number 1893, approving the 2014 to 2018 County Assistance Road System Program for road improvements within the city of Gardner, Kansas.
Second.
Motion Freeman, second Harrison, that we adopt resolution 1893. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mayor, we'll need a poll vote on this.
Oh,
Yeah, since
I thought it was
resolution.
only on ordinance, I apologize. Fodovich,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Shute,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Measure passes, resolution passes 5-0. Okay. At this point, I'm going to ask if staff has anything for council. Does council have anything for staff?
Well, I will just reiterate with Tim what I said before, and that is if we decide to have the signalization of 183rd and Center, that we look at the sidewalk improvements on the west side of Center going up towards Veterans Park to make sure that those are taken into consideration.
Ideally, I think that we'd probably want to talk about speed approaching 183rd and then going north of 183rd as well.
I agree.
As well as trucks, especially trucks.
Yeah, going west on 183rd.
Well, trucks going
general. Or
going
north.
on Gardner Road
Anywhere.
at 45 miles an hour.
No, that's true.
If you've got something in there that you want us to talk about specifically going forward, I mean, now's the opportunity.
I mean, I think that we've kind of all talked about in the past that, you know, it's a mostly residential street. The truck ordinance, as I recall, allows for deliveries without having to make an area a truck route. So in other words, trucks can come from I-35 up Gardner Road and turn left on 183rd, or go west on 183rd or Cherokee, and deliver products to the label company without having to have any sort of a truck route there. Or they can go east to what's the plumbing, Heartland Plumbing, and make deliveries of steel pipe or whatever as well. But the question really is Gardner Road a great conduit for trucks in light of new schools, and in fact this has come up several times from people that seem to want to stop me in the street and go, hey, the new school, you know, is going to require my child to cross Gardner Road, and right now that seems frightening because of not only the speed limits, but also the trucks that,
Mhm.
you know, have 60,000